Hello, welcome to my presentation on autism. Welcome, Professor Spiegel. My name is Brian Marcus. This is a presentation on autism. I chose autism because, it seems to be a very common in today's world. Especially as a teacher, I'm going to come across a lot of different types of children. And I figured, it's probably a matter of not if, but when I'm going to encounter a student with some type of autism. So, so that's why I chose that. So let me share my screen with you and get started. Okay, I'll begin with the definition of autism. Autism is a mental condition present from early childhood characterized by difficulty in communicating and forming relationships with other people and in using language and abstract concepts. When they talk about being on the spectrum, what they're referring to is a wide range of symptoms, skills, and levels of impairment or disability that an autistic person can have. It's also known as ASD. So quick stats on autism. 1 in 68 children born in the United States has been identified with ASD. 3.5 million Americans are on the spectrum. It costs our country $236 billion annually to care for autistic people. Boys are 5 times more likely to get autism or to be on the spectrum, and it affects all races, ethnicities, socio-economic levels, so it can affect anyone. When they talk about being on the spectrum, you would have one or more of these types of autism, at a different level. So begin with Asperger's syndrome. These people are typically average to above average intellectually. They usually don't have a problem with language. However, they do have some social problems. Pervasive developmental disorder, it's also known as atypical autism. It's sort of like a catch-all category for a child with multiple autistic behaviors. Next, we go on to the autistic disorder, which this is what most people think of when they hear the word autism. There's also Rett syndrome, which is more predominant in girls. It can cause a severe cognitive impairment. However, it is very rare. And lastly, there is childhood disintegrative disorder. This is when a child develops normally for the first few years of life, and then they begin to develop symptoms of autism later on. This chart just kind of shows, you can see the broad spectrum. How on this side you have high functioning people with extreme intelligence, and it goes all the way down to the other side where you have your classic autism, and in between you have all these other types of people, some average, above average, and they all have, the symptoms are all in this rainbow. Some of those symptoms can include social skills. Typically, they have problems on developing nonverbal communication skills, such as eye-to-eye contact, facial expressions. They fail to establish friendships, and they usually do not understand other people's feelings. Communication-wise, they usually have a speech delay. someone on the spectrum doesn't typically start or carry on a conversation, and they tend to use repetitive language, saying the same phrase over and over again. They have they don't have a much of an interest in playing like a full game or anything. They tend to focus on one part of a toy. Say, like if they have a doll, they'll focus on the feet of the doll or the head. They also get they also tend to get fixated on one topic. They might like cards, like Pokemon cards, and they'll be obsessed with Pokemon cards. And they also have repetitive behaviors, such as hand flapping, jumping, rocking in the chair, maybe blinking their eyes, all these types of things. When you have a child who is autistic, there's obviously going to be family issues. Some of those issues could be stress on the family, which I want to include stress on the marriage, on other children, work related stresses, and financial stress. Having a child with autism would typically put a strain on most, if not all, of your resources, including time and money, because all that has to go up to the care of the child, and it would also affect brothers or sisters, because they tend to feel left out, or as if I'm getting the attention that they need. Moving on, some strategies that a teacher could use in the classroom would be the implementation of digital media, such as movies, audiobooks, recordings, songs, computer games, all these types of materials. Visuals are an excellent to use. Like written list of rules, visual organizers, highlighters in the classroom. Well, you would want to maintain a quiet classroom if possible. You could include sensory tools such as like stress balls, exercise bands on the chairs. You want to keep your routine consistent every day with the same routine every day. You walk in, you hang your coat up, you hang your book bag up, you sit down on the carpet, that type of thing. And your room layout, you want to allow for ample space in the room. So they have room to walk. You want to create like a center, so they know if they're over here, they're just this is the reading center. Over here is the math center. Over here are the toys, and everything has like a structure to it. Some accommodations that could be made. You'd like to sit the child where they feel most comfortable sitting. You don't want to have them in the front of the room where they feel better sitting by the window. It's counterproductive. You want to give the child breaks, multiple breaks throughout the day, bathroom breaks, just taking a walk break, just playtime break, all types of breaks. You'd like to give them extra time to I'm completing tasks, or to process information, or they don't have to take a test unnecessarily on this one sitting. You can give them a couple days to timed to finish it. You'd like to decrease their workload. You don't want to give them a 10-page paper. Maybe a 2-page paper, depending on the child, obviously. Assessments, you'd like to assess them in different ways with different modifications. You could assess orally, you could assess on a computer, you could assess with a scribe maybe. So you have to, each case is different. That's why we talk about the spectrum. You don't know what each child can do. You'd have to figure that out through the year. A big part of having an autistic child is transitioning to employment. According to the IDEA, special education law requires that a school district assist a student with disabilities and make the transition from school to work and life as an adult. However, once the child is out of school, there is no such law. So, but however, at this point, the Americans with Disabilities Act takes over, and they state that employers are required to make reasonable accommodations for an employee with a disability, as long as that accommodation does not pose undue hardship to the employer. Which means if there's like a reasonable accommodation that they need, maybe they need more breaks. Maybe, don't put them on, like behind the counter. Maybe have them do something, that they could do better. You want to try to find them a career where they can be successful. You want them a place where they can fit in and they can do well. It's never too early to learn what kind of job this might be, and if they need skills for this job, you should work on them early on in life. Don't wait until they get to the job and now let's learn these skills. They also need to have functioning skills. These are just everyday life skills: tying your shoes, getting dressed, combing your hair, going to the bathroom, washing your hands. And you want to make sure that they have enough social skills to be successful at their jobs. Lastly, we have under future planning, guardianship refers to when the parents pass on, who's going to take care of the child. On the benefit assessments, talks about the financial security of the child. You want to have a letter of intent. It's sort of like a roadmap regarding the child's future. And lastly, your will. You want to have your wishes as to how your estate is going to be allocated to the child. If there's other siblings, do you want like the brother to get more so he can take care of your autistic child, or do you want it evenly? Do you want to have the money to, he's going to require us like a special housing at somewhere? Does he want to go there? So those types of things. So here's my works cited page, and that's pretty much it. I had a really good time. Yeah, so that's I'm pretty much it. I had I learned a lot doing this. Like I said before, with how common autism is now, and how many people are on the spectrum, and the way it's being treated, and diagnosed now. It's good to have some kind of like background in it and knowledge. So that's why I chose this, and so that's it. I don't know if there's any questions. I know that there is like a delay in this when I tested it out. So I'll just give you a few minutes and see how that's going to work. Oh, okay. I think autism is so prevalent now because the way it is undiagnosed. I think in the past there was autism, and that's what was like your autistic disorder. When I talk about the types of autism, I think that's what an autistic person was. Nowadays, you have there's Asperger's, there's a pervasive disorder, and it wasn't thought about that. You know, a person, you know, all these different people are now on the spectrum. I also think it's more prevalent today because there's a lot more people than there was back, you know, a long time ago. So that's why there can be 3.5 a million people could have it today, and not, you know, a long time ago. So that's why I think that. I hope I answered that. I just clicked on the OK button. I'll answer it again. I think autism is so prevalent today because I think that in the past there was only autistic disorder, and that's what you thought of. What type is? All right. I think it's so prevalent today because in the past there was just autistic disorder. That was the main classification. Now with all these other types on that are on the spectrum, there's more people, there's more types. You know, so more people fit into these categories, pretty much. And so that's what I think about that. Are there any more questions? So I guess we're pretty much done there. I don't know. So I guess just stop the broadcast and then I'll submit it. All right. Thanks to Professor Spiegel for tuning in, and I'll submit this and I'll see you on Monday. Have a nice weekend.